All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome to the wrap-up live stream of JDC Season 3. This one has been a doozy. We've had a lot of awesome times, some really fun games, and just some awesome memories, hopefully, that were made throughout this whole thing. And I think we'll go ahead and get this right off the bat. Doug won it. And not just won it, he murdered the entire thing. As in, he won every single game, never lost. And it's a little frustrating. But Doug, congratulations, buddy. I'm really happy for you.
How dare you win? How dare you?
I can't say that I'm frustrated from it, but I will say that there were a couple games where I did barely scrape by. So
That's so modest of you, Doug. That heart of gold shining through. No, Doug just annihilated every single week. Don't let him fool you. If you didn't go and follow along week by week, I do want to just go ahead and recommend that you guys go through, watch. Everybody's got their videos up on Twitch or on YouTube. Please go look at those, watch those, enjoy them. They were a phenomenal time, and it was really great to be a part of all this with some really great people. So before we kind of jump in and recap the season, I just want to extend a huge thank you to all three of you, Rachel, Alex, and Doug, for being a part of this, making it a really, really fun and successful Season 3. So you guys are awesome. You're the all-stars. We love you, and we hope you'll come back for Season 4. That's the goal. So come back.
yeah, well, thank you for putting it on, man.
Dude, thank you so
Wouldn't
much.
have happened without you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
Well,
Yeah, it was great.
it.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to lose for 4 weeks in a row.
Alex, you won. You beat me.
I did. Oh, that's true. Not every game though. So
I'm the one that lost.
Yeah, but not hard enough.
This is my stupid tournament, and I lost. What is this crap?
You won the first season, the second season.
I did win the second season, that's fair. But you know what? Regardless, it was still an awesome time. Alex, you redeemed yourself from Season 2. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the redemption story that is Alex and the Stockholm Humans, because Season 2, you kind of just got annihilated. But we're back here now, and you won in third. you got to third.
I did. I won in third. I did it. I went from dead last out of 2 to second from last out of 4.
Technically, you did better in Season 2 because you got second.
Yeah, some would say I have regressed actually. No, but I had a genius deck builder in my corner for 3 out of the 4 weeks. But despite that, I didn't. Oh, hey, Toby. I did not manage to win every game, despite the genius of Mons.
Yeah.
But
Well, you bring up Mons though, and yourself, I think, as a really good example. And I thought it was, some people might look at like having a CEDH TV channel thrown into what is historic, and obviously different formats, different kind of play styles, different kind of strategies. Do you think that the EDH play style kind of lent itself well to this historic gameplay, specifically looking at jank decks and things like that, like more silly combo-esque kind of stuff and more just overall weirdness?
I think it was, if anything, a detriment because of what I'm used to. So, I come from a very competitive, cutthroat background when it comes to what I normally play. But then I'm thrown into, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it was too easy, so therefore I did bad. No. It was more just I had so many ingrown tendencies as an EDH player that just didn't matter for a one-on-one 20 health 60 card deck multiple card format.
Which I think is fair. But I will say, I looking at it from the outside, like early perspective, I was thinking, you know what, it would be kind of fun. First of all, Alex is just a friend of mine, and a really nice person. So having Alex on was just a pleasure. But I did want to see if we could get a different perspective in, and I think the EDH perspective is obviously very different than regular. I say regular constructed for lack of a better term, but you know what I mean. And so
Yeah.
I was really interested to see if that either helped or hindered you in that deck building process, or at least what your thoughts on it were. I would argue that my initial thought, at least, was that it was going to be like, oh, okay, well, here's some things that, you know, a regular historic competitive player isn't going to think about doing some weird Revel in Riches jank combo that
True.
you were able to pull off and make work. However, you're
Make
saying
work.
it was a bit more of a hindrance just because you're used to a certain play style and that kind of thing.
Yes, but you know, we got through it, and we built some cool things despite it.
Well, I have to ask, at the end of this season, was this better than season 2, and did you still have a good time?
Yes. One moment.
Oh no. Alex has left us, everyone. Doug, chime in. Doug, Rachel, somebody.
I'm still here.
Okay, good.
Sorry, my
We're just
roommate was
watching
asking.
Alex.
My roommate was asking the number for the Wi-Fi password for like 3 minutes, but trying to mouth it to me. I'm like, I can't help you with this right now.
Oh,
What do you
that's
mean?
so funny.
Like, give me a piece of paper that I can write on. No. Your last question was
So
what?
yeah, first of all, did you enjoy this season? And in comparison to season 2, how did you feel it went?
Better. It's I mean, not the last season was great, but it just having it be like a contest between like multiple people, not just me and you every week. Even though you are great.
Oh, thanks, Alex. That's so kind.
Yeah.
This was not just a staged question for me to get you to say that. I promise.
It's true. No, you're horrible. I hate Blake. I'm just no. Just the fact that there's variety and like different like ideas to deck building,
Yeah.
not just oh, it's a Kevin deck and a proxy deck every week. Ooh.
Yeah. You knew I was going to put Mirror March and everything, and you were going to do something really ambitious.
I did maybe main board stuff for both the things I thought were gonna be in your deck.
That's okay. It happens. Well, Alex, I really do appreciate you coming back for season 3. It was a really fun time. I'm glad you and I got to face off a couple times this season. I kind of hope neither of us runs into that position again, so we can hopefully be doing better in future seasons. But it was a pleasure, and well representing the Stockholm Humans with a finish in 3rd place, which is, as it turns out, not last. So way to be there.
My cat showed up.
And your cat showed up, yeah. What's your cat's name?
The one on the bed's Tofu.
Tofu.
I
I was
love
about
that
to call
name.
out Cat Cam.
We call me and my roommate call our pets the pantry because they're all named after food.
How many are there?
7.
You have 7 cats?
No, 4 cats. 2 kittens.
What is this one? Another one just popped up.
Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, this was miso.
Oh my gosh, Miso. That's
Yeah.
really cute. All right, Alex. Well, thank you very much. Well representing the humans. And congratulations to hopefully a fun season. Not the best season in the world, but a very fun one in terms of your final policing. Rachel, we're going to move on to you. Representing the Rochester Hydras, we have Rachel. She, I think, is the newest player in our group here. And I think early
Most
on,
definitely.
early on, I think I tasked you. I think collectively we kind of all did, but I think you were tasked with trying to push your boundaries a little bit and learn some new deck building strategies, or just push yourself into new colors, do things like that. Do you feel you accomplished that this season?
I definitely feel like I did that. I know obviously the first week I kind of went to something that's easy. It's home. It was Feldar's Retreat. It's obviously cats. It was Selesnya. Easy for me to work with. But then I pushed myself through horrors, which was very out for me because yes, I had green technically, but it was really just for like Grakma.
Yeah.
So like it was really just for him.
We should-
And like the one green horror elemental. I don't know. I remember what the name was, but like there was like those 2 cards were the only thing that were like green.
Yeah.
And then I know obviously the last week, with the finals, I had Impervious Great Worm, which was still kind of in my alley, but at the same time, I'm not used to Convoke. I don't really like Convoke. Me and my girlfriend complain. We argue a lot about how much I hate Convoke and how she's like, you can't play Selesny unless you like Convoke. So that's always been a contention for us.
Oh no.
I love Convoke.
Convoke is
I
awesome.
think-
Rachel, you're wrong. Sorry.
Okay.
It's like giving your creatures haste and making them tap for mana.
It's so
I just
nice.
it just for me because I'm always thinking of like a 7/7 Hydra. I'm like, but why would I want to tap it for 1 mana? It's so much more.
No, that's fair.
That's so missing the point. That's missing the
I know.
opportunity, Rachel.
Well, no. 'Cause I know like Convoke is supposed to be for like 1/1 soldier. Like nobody cares about the 1/1 soldier. You can just tap all these soldiers for mana, which then it makes sense. But the thing is that I'm so stuck to normally playing like green big stomp. I'm like, why would I tap this for mana?
Well,
So-
regardless of your feelings towards very specific mechanics, I just want to point out that it was a really fun time having you on. I'm glad that you felt like you did push that boundary for yourself because, again, being a newer player, that's really easy to kind of get into your groove of whatever your particular color or whatever your particular strategy is. And I think part of the fun of things like this, like the JDC, is because it's not quite so serious. You can kind of take it in whatever direction you want. You can kind of just play around and have some fun. So I'm glad that you felt you did that. That's awesome. Really happy to say that you had a really good season as well, finishing in second. Second only
I
to
only
Doug.
got 1 win. Don't butter it up. I got 1 win. That was purely because I destroyed you week 1.
Whoa. Shots fired, Rachel.
Man,
was-
destroyed.
And then
was
I lost
so
the rest of the
aggressive.
way
That was so aggressive. What was
because
that about?
I just had to point out my only win was against you, okay?
Well, that's never gonna happen again.
I got you
will
second
never beat me
place.
again. I am making it my life's mission to make sure that doesn't happen. But you
That's
are
a lot
correct.
of commitment.
It is a lot of commitment. Assuming you come back for season 4, it is. But regardless, I do hope that you had a fun season. I hope that overall, again, you did feel like you pushed things a little bit further, which is certainly good. And congratulations, seriously, on getting second place. I think that is awesome.
Thank you.
You
I
didn't
definitely
roll.
had a lot of fun. I think it's definitely helped me with deck building.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm so used to kind of like having my girlfriend just really help me make them. I made all of these basically myself and only had her look at it at the very end just to make sure that I didn't like mess up on something.
Sure.
Other than that, almost all those decks were just completely my own idea.
Well, congratulations. You have graduated into a intermediate to expert deck builder. I don't really know what the levels are for this, but you did a
Probably,
good
like,
job.
in
is
the
the
middle.
takeaway. You did a very good job. So well done this season. Excited to have you back for season 4 if you would like to. And I think it's going to be a good time. But now we got to talk to the man of the hour. We got to talk to the king of jank. He's officially crowned the king of jank. Doug, representing the Ottawa Bears, the Card Sphere team. Doug, it was a pleasure to have you, but you did win every single game, which does mean you have a target on your back for next season.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so. I wouldn't expect anything less. I will say though that I don't think I won every game by any means. I definitely picked up the matches, but
Sure.
and there were so many games that I can think back to that literally just came down to a turn. Like there was a game against you where you were a turn away from an infinite mana combo. I know I was talking about last week against Rachel where she had created like 30 soldier tokens and I had to top deck an answer to do it. Like I felt like it was a lot of luck that got me there this year
Well,
because there were some fierce decks out there. It's like, oh my gosh, I need to draw something now.
luck or not, you
So-
did win it So congratulations. But I do just want to point out your deck building was very potent. And I remember looking at all the decks that you built throughout each week, and I was just like, oh my gosh, time after time you were just killing it. I mean, you look at the first deck that you played, and you're playing things like Omniscience and Ugin and like all these wicked strong things.
That might have been my favorite deck, to be honest.
Dude,
So
it was a sweet deck.
You played exclusively adorable things. Sunbirds, a cute bird.
That's
9 lives, kitty cats. The bushwhack is adorable.
Bushwhack.
Yeah.
And then there's
crabs.
And crabs are adorable.
Adorable crabs, yes.
I'm still really bitter about the crabs match. Why did you bring that up, Alex?
To show that the bears are the most adorable, therefore that's why they won.
Yeah. Well, and I was
definitely-
thinking there's a famous quote. I think it's a Dwight Schrute that said something like Brushwags, Bears, Battlestar Galactica. Is that how it goes?
Exactly, yeah. that's how
Something
it
like
goes.
that. Oh, Doug. Well, congratulations. You are officially this season's King of Jank, but you are going to have to fight for that crown next time. I think, like I said, you definitely have a target on your back, and I think the bar has been raised to beat you throughout the next season as much as possible. And so I am happy that you were here for it. Did a fantastic job representing the Card Sphere Ottawa Bears team. Annihilated this season. So super well done. An amazing job. And again, super happy to have you for this one.
Well, I just had a ton of fun playing. I really appreciate being invited. I think every week it was like the decks were so much fun to play. I found myself just playing them for fun in the general arena queues.
I remember week one, not to reminisce too much about week one, but your deck that week was insane. And I remember you messaged in the chat at one point, because we have our own little JDC chat that we talk back and forth in, and you were like, yeah, I've played something like 17 or 18 games, and it was like 2 days after we had done the draft. Like, it wasn't long after. And you're like, yeah, I played like 18. I won a few, man, but it was rough. And I'm like, Doug. Yeah, but you did a fantastic
that deck was so
job.
fun, though.
That was a
Every win
sweet
made
deck.
it worth it.
That was a very cool deck. But regardless, a fantastic season. As I mentioned, I finished in last, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Not bitter at all. Totally fine. But I really did have a great time. Again, a really awesome group of people here. So Rachel, Alex, and Doug, thank you guys so much. It's been a real pleasure. But now I kind of want to open up the floor to you guys. So I wanted to reminisce a little bit. I wanted to take some time to announce the winner, Doug, obviously. But I do want to open this up because and anybody in chat, if you were watching throughout this season, feel free to chime in as well. But I wanted to talk with you guys about maybe some potential changes, some ways that we can make the JDC a little bit better the next season. What you think worked, what you think didn't work. If there's anything like that, now is really the time to talk about it. I'm going to go back to Alex, and we'll talk with you first. Alex, any thoughts on that?
I think, while I think the season was great, of course we can improve on some things. What those things are, I mean, I don't know. More Gonti. Just get
More Gonti. There we go.
Suggest
That's all
more.
Alex cares about.
Just more Gonti, please.
What were your thoughts? Because again, you and I kind of did season 2 together. We kind of changed things up this time around where we did theme weeks and then we were able to draft since we had, a higher number of people. Do you feel that worked well? Did you like the themes? Were there themes that you felt could have been better?
I think we can be more focused on the themes.
Okay.
As well as I do love the draft. The draft part is probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
In all honesty, maybe even more so than the deck building.
Wow, that's a statement.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy in drafting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then there's some anticipation to it, which I thought was a little more exciting. And we all talked about that at the early start of the season. Right before we started, we were debating on how we wanted to do that, and we all kind of discussed draft as, I think, the best option. I think everybody was kind of for that. And so that was a collective group idea, but I think it was a good one. It does add a little bit more strategy and tension to it all. And it also just makes it a little more exciting, I think. So overall, I'm really happy we did it that way.
I agree. I think it would have been. Must be weird. The show part. I mean, I know we're doing it for this. It's the wrap up season. That makes sense.
Sure.
But in between, if we didn't have like the draft, we're just like, hey,
yeah,
here's pairings.
Yeah, exactly. It added a little bit more to those Monday evening live streams. I think that made it. I don't know, something to kind of look forward to and something just to see in it. I think part of it too was to get some audience interaction, so to speak, or community interaction, and getting them suggesting some cards for each theme, and then being able to say, hey, yeah, this was Term 1 Soul Ring or Spinneraptor or Pab or any of the numerous people that were out there every single week. I think the last week we had some crazy number of suggestions on Dealer's Choice Week. It was insane, but you guys really did play a big part in that, so I want to thank everybody who did give some suggestions for us. That was much appreciated. And again, seeing that escalate every single week, which it definitely did, was a good sign. And I think, in future seasons, I think I would like to keep that basic structure and maybe just find ways to improve upon it as we think of those and as we can. But I do agree. Draft was a really good addition to the season this time around, I think. All right, well, Rachel, let's move on to you. I mean, we've talked about draft a little bit. Do you agree with that? Is there something that you felt could have been done better? What are your thoughts there?
I do like how the draft was. I like how we had the order, for people obviously who aren't like really a part of the JDC, we had basically like one day or so before we'd have, so it'd be like a Sunday, and Kevin would put up like, hey, these are the, chosen picks. And I kind of like the idea of being able to look at them, not having too much time. In the case of if you have too much time, you'll get stuck. Like, I want this. And only having like that one day to like kind of like skim through and like kind of start brewing ideas. It kind of gives you that like, oh, well, I'm thinking of this or I'm thinking of this. And then when you get there, and I like this from everybody, when it would become to like our turn to pick, we would talk about, you ask, well, what were you thinking? What are you going with? And we all seem to come up with some kind of catchy, kind of silly way to describe, like I feel the cat's calling me, I have to do Felidar retreat. Or, with Doug, him honoring his cat. He's like, I have to, 9 lives. We all had some fun way to introduce on what card we settled with, which I really liked.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And yeah, the one-liners were pretty on point, I think, throughout the entire season. It was a really fun time to see what jokes we were going to be coming up with throughout the whole thing. And I will say something that I really appreciated by each of you, because we did kind of mention it, but it wasn't really harped on, at least I don't believe. Each of you guys took time to kind of walk through your thought process, your picks a little bit more, instead of just saying, oh, I want this pick. And it's like, okay, but why? Or what other cards were you thinking? You kind of naturally expanded on that a little bit. And I think that from an entertainment point of view, that makes it a lot more engaging, a lot more fun. But also, it's nice to kind of look through and see how you guys are thinking through these picks, because as Alex kind of alluded to, there was a bit of strategy to it. Obviously, this isn't hyper competitive leagues or anything like that, but there was a little bit of a strategy behind taking cards when you could take them and knowing the draft order and that kind of thing. And so being able to kind of expand on that and talk about that and really dive into it a little bit deeper was a good time. And I really appreciate how all three of you just kind of naturally went through that thought process as we were doing it. So thank you guys for being on top of it and better presenters than most other people in the world. Way to be there. Well, anything, Rachel? Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
All right, that's it. Next time I'm just gonna be deadpan.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please, Alex.
I just thought of this. I think however many people we have, we only have 2 or 3 extra picks.
Yeah, we did technically have like 8, so we were doubled up essentially every week. So you felt that was just too many?
Yeah, I didn't feel like.
I kind of appreciated it some weeks.
I appreciated the extra picks because if there was, for me being a new player, I think that's actually really good if we get people who are less experienced, because if there's only, let's say next season we expand to 6 people and we only have 8 cards, if there's someone who's really new and they don't know what they're doing and their one card they thought they could make a deck out of is picked, then they are really just, rolling a roulette, and
Yeah.
just picking up a random card. If you open it to not too many more options, but just enough so they have at least, first and second or third, I think is really nice.
Well, and I will say, in the decision to say 8, there were 2 factors that kind of pushed in that direction. One was erring on the side of fun, because Rachel, you bring this up really, really well, that, if your first pick is chosen, I still want you to have a fun week. And so if there are more options, not too many, but enough, that does give you the option to say, oh, okay, well, my first pick is gone, that's fine, but I've still got another option that I'm still excited about. And I think that left enough wiggle room without going too far over to allow for that. Because again, we're competitive in that this is a competition, but at the same time, that's not really the focus. The focus is more to build silly things and do dumb stuff. And so that was really the goal. And so erring on the side of that, I think, will always be kind of the methodology for how this is structured. But on top of that too, I did want to make sure that we had like a good just smattering of representations in each week. Big enchantments week as an example. It's nice to be able to say, well, here's a big red enchantment, here's a big black enchantment, here's a big white enchantment, and go through all that, but also then pull in some multicolor stuff and just have a lot of options out there. And so 8 felt like a really just solid number to be able to represent a number of different things, but then also allow for that fun factor. So Alex, to your point there, I do think that trimming down on the draft number would potentially make it a bit more competitive and breed that competition a little bit more. But I think for the JDC in particular, I want to err on that side of let's just have a fun time and let's make sure everybody gets to have a fun time. And so I do want to keep some wiggle room, but I do think you bring up a good point between the two of you, Rachel and Alex. When we get to the next season, we're obviously going to have hopefully a couple extra people, and we need to make sure that number is secured and solid before we go too far with it. So good things to think about for future seasons. Well, Doug, let's wrap up with you. What were some things that you enjoyed? What were some things that you felt could have been better? Anything that really stuck out to you?
So I'm a little torn. I know Rachel was talking about kind of the time between building or drafting and finding the draft and building the decks. I did like the crunch to some extent because it was a scenario like, all right, I got to get this and figure it out and be ready to play. I sometimes wished that I had more time to do the deck building portion, more so to try to get like community interaction in the sense of like, oh, like I have this deck, but maybe I want to see like what the community like put something up in Discord and say like,
Yeah.
is there another card that you all think I should have to play with this, or what's a way to make it extra janky? Most weeks, it just kind of happened organically, but there were times where I thought like, I kind of wish I had just a little more time for that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. There were weeks where it was like, okay, I just got to get this done and get a deck ready.
Well, I will say to that point, not to interrupt you, Doug, but
no, go ahead.
The time crunch was completely accidental. In hindsight, the first week I was really good about getting it up for you guys like early. Every other week, I got it to you guys like the night before. Sometimes I think one week it was the day of, and I felt so bad. So that was actually my fault. The plan was to give you guys the weekend to kind of look through and look at those picks. So Rachel, I agree. I think the time crunch is fun, and then Doug, on your end, I think giving a little bit more time for some community thoughts and interaction isn't a bad idea. In hindsight, I wish I had stuck to the weekend plan so we could better evaluate how that would have worked. But I think in the future seasons, what I'd like to do is or in season 4 at least, I would like to make sure that we all have a chance over the weekend, if we stick with this same kind of Monday live stream format, to be able to look at that list and really culminate some ideas from it. So again, that was a little bit of just unintentional, my bad. But all that to say, I do think the time crunch kind of worked out, but I'm with you on that one, Doug. I think it would have been better to have been able to throw that list out there for some community interaction, getting a little bit of deck building advice as we go, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and it never was like a problem, There was
Yeah.
never a week where I was like, I can't get this done in time, or I don't feel like the deck has, it was just one of those things though, where it was like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna pick my card and then work on it on Monday and try to have it ready to test on Tuesday because I got to play on Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
It could get a little tight sometimes, which is fine. It's just I know that was one thought I had. The other thing that I think would be really cool to see, and Rachel and I kind of talked about this last week when we were playing our match. I think it would be interesting to kind of go even further with the theme drafting portion.
Okay.
And look at like doing not only like, I mean, I enjoyed all of the themes this time around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be cool to like expand it out and have things like do like a historic brawl themed week where all of the
Oh.
suggestions have to be a brawl commander, and you build your deck around that, or
Mm-hmm.
you could get weird with it and be like, we're doing Kaladesh block themed week where
Yeah.
you only build Kaladesh. I mean, there's or you could do a pauper themed week on
Yeah.
commons. I think there's a lot of cool like ground there to work with. So that's just a potential what I thought was interesting.
Yeah, no, you bring up a really good point there, because the themes in particular, I did want to get your thoughts on collectively. And it sounds like I don't think, because we talked about the themes prior to settling into them. So we were kind of all saying like, yeah, these are good. We'll run with those. But there are so many options for themes. And Doug, you bring up a couple good ones. What I'd love to be able to do, and again, as we do this, I do try and find little areas where we can get community interaction, whether that be from just the It Resolves community or really anybody's. I'd like to have this open to everybody's community that's taking part. And so areas where we could potentially do that is getting just suggestions for theme weeks from the community itself, and just having a little like, okay, here, fill out this little one line form or something, and then just submit some ideas to us, just to get some ideas from the community itself, and then be able to credit those people with that as well. Because obviously we get to do that with the drafting portion of it, but to take that a step further, I think it might be kind of fun to look at the theme weeks the same way, and get a little bit more creative with that. Is that something, Doug, in particular, just you and I at the moment, but is that something that you think would be a good way to open that up, or would you prefer us kind of in-house thinking about those themes?
I mean, I think either option works really. I don't. I mean, if you think there'd be a lot of interest in people putting in ideas for themes, or
Mm-hmm.
you could even just kind of have like an informal, not really a poll, but just like a idea Dropbox, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That to me, I was just kind of thinking, and it mostly came up because we were kind of talking about deck building and like some of the potential issues you might run into with deck building. And I thought like, oh, like historic brawl is a really cool format. I think people just forget it exists because you can't, it's not like a queue. You have to actually like find someone and request a match to play with them. But I was like, oh, like brawl decks would be like a really interesting, a very different form of jank, at least for me. Like I'm, I don't think I've ever made a super, well, I lie. I made an Atog EDH deck once upon a time, but other than that, I've never made a like super janky, EDH or brawl deck. So it was
I
just
like that.
and kind of led me down a road of thought, like, oh, like what are all the different formats you might try? Or
I don't even know how to play singleton formats, so.
Alex, shut your face, man. You can't even say that.
How does it work? I don't get it.
What's this command zone? I don't understand.
What is?
How does that work? No, Doug, that's a great point. I think that taking those themes a step further and maybe even branching them out into different formats will be a really fun time. So I appreciate that. And I think that's very easily something that should be looked at for season 4. So very good comment there. That's awesome. Okay, well, is there anything else as we're kind of wrapping up this wrap up stream? But is there anything else that you guys can think of, or that you guys just want to wrap up with, or anything like that as we're finishing out the season?
No, I think it's been a great season. I've had a blast.
I really wish I had prepared a rap now. Like I felt like that
Doug.
opening was perfect, and I got nothing to follow up with there though.
Oh, Doug. Well, one thing I will say in the interim between now and season 4, one thing that I would like to try and up is the overall quality of like the streams and things like that. Just the touch points that we have are usually the streams and the matches. I'd like to reevaluate that, find different ways to kind of incorporate a little bit more of that. So not only do you guys as content creators and people pushing videos out to either Twitch or YouTube, wherever, I'd like to find more opportunities to do some fun kind of group things as we go through that. And then also just literal quality of the stream when I look at, graphics, things like that. Things were done a bit hastily on my end because things, unfortunately, in the real world, the non-Magic world, I ended up getting a little busier than expected, and so I kind of rushed through some things that I should not have. And so my hope is that we can kind of up that quality, make things look a little more exciting, a little more fun, and more engaging, so that way you guys as the viewers feel like you're really a big part of this and it's not just kind of a static thing. So I think personality-wise, everybody here did an amazing job. We had a really fun time. So again, the final time, I promise, but thank you guys very, very much for being a part of this, and could not have asked for a better group. 100%. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you. You are a great host.
Well, guys, really do appreciate it. Anybody watching, thank you guys so much. I will really quickly just say, as a final word here, if you type !merch in the chat, you do come up with our Streamlabs store. There you can pick up any team merch that you would like. We've got shirts and hoodies available. Please make sure if you want to support a team, that's a great way to do it. But keep in mind, we may, in the interim between the seasons, we may take those things down until the new release of Season 4. Because, I mean, we're not going to be doing any JDC content between now and then. So just to clean things up a little bit. But they should be back for Season 4, no issues. Whoever ends up playing again will be back in the store. So just a heads up there. But again, thank you guys so much. Alex, Doug, Rachel, thank you guys as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I really, really actually enjoyed this season.
What do you mean, actually?
Yeah,
were you not expecting to?
Well, okay, coming as a new player and everybody else with so much more experience, I was afraid that I would just get easy 4th place.
Nope, that was my job.
It was a very pleasant surprise.
Nah, you
okay.
did great, Rachel.
You didn't get an easy 4th place though. You worked for it. We made sure that every week you had to really try.
Oh, Doug, I love it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and end this one. Thank you guys again for being a part of Season 3. Make sure to check out all the gameplay available still. Ours is up on our YouTube channel, as well as some of it's still probably on Twitch. I know respective Twitches for everybody's